Senator John Cornyn, Republican from Texas, on the Senate Judiciary Committee, joins us now. And Senator, we welcome you. What are you most looking forward to hearing, anxious to hear, anxious about?
Well, I'm anxious to hear the judge's answers to the questions that are going to be asked. Many of them have been telegraphed ahead of time. I've been sending out a question of the day on the internet saying these are the sorts of things that I'm going to want to ask the judge about: her commitment to the Bill of Rights, including political speech, the Second Amendment, the right to keep and bear arms, the private property rights under the Fifth Amendment, and of course her commitment to equal justice for all under the 14th Amendment. Those are some of the areas that I think you'll be hearing quite a bit about.
Yeah, as you know, this is an elegant verbal dance. We hope elegant anyway. It's a verbal dance, I should say. Well, we'll see whether it ends up being elegant. And what I mean is, you're not able to directly ask her, here's a situation, here's a scenario, here's a hypothetical, how would you rule? It's not like a multiple choice kind of a scenario. So there's a lot of subtlety in the interaction between people like yourself, her, and everybody watching. What do you consider to be some of the key signals in terms of either her bias or her philosophy when it comes to the Constitution and the rule of law?
Well, Dylan, judges are used to asking questions, not answering them, so it's going to be a little bit of role reversal for Judge Sotomayor. And, I think one fair area of inquiry is the treatment of the New Haven firefighter case. We're going to have, I think, two of those firefighters here, including Frank Richke, who unfortunately has been viciously attacked in the days leading up to this confirmation hearing by People for the American Way and other liberal groups. I really think it's despicable stuff. But, of course, the Supreme Court did reverse her decision there, which was a summary order, unsigned, and really appeared to more or less sweep under the rug these claims, which ultimately were identified by a fellow judge, Judge Cabranes, who said these are questions that should be answered, raise issues about racial quotas and reverse discrimination. Ultimately, the Supreme Court of the United States, of course, did reverse Judge Sotomayor.
Yeah.
I think, that's one area was gained quite a bit of attention that I think deserves some discussion, some explanation.
Well, and I think one of the reasons why we see so many of these conversations go toward this, right? People love the conversation that gives us insight as to where we are as a country on race relations, on gender relations, on social issues in general. And I'm curious what your view is of their responsibility, meaning the Supreme Court's responsibility, to either interpret social law and the Congress's. In other words, how much is the Supreme Court suddenly burdened to make these decisions that really should be being made by the people's representative, not by lifelong appointees?
Well, Dylan, I agree. These should be areas left to the elected representatives of the people, because the people can vote us out of office if we don't do what they want. And but they can't, these lifetime appointed judges. So it really does make a difference what the attitude, what the philosophy is of these judges, whether they see the Constitution as more or less of a blank slate or with vague words that they can then read their own personal political or ideological agenda into it. I think many people are troubled by what they see as the direction of an activist judiciary that doesn't seem to be bound to the written Constitution or the laws passed by Congress. So many of the questions we're going to be asking her have to do with her approach and, frankly, some of the speeches she's given, where she said there really is no such thing as neutrality or objectivity in the law. It's all a matter of perspective.
Do you think it's gotten worse, Senator? In other words, do you think that our ability to make law that has a limited enough amount of element of vagary to it in our Congress, in our House of Representatives, in our Senate, has been diminished by any variety of reasons over the past few years, that now we have more and more vague law that ends up giving more and more power ultimately to judicial appointees, for better or worse?
Well, I think Congress has to bear some of the responsibility for its failure to address some of these areas, and then sometimes judges feel like, well, nobody else is going to answer the question we have to, but they're not elected, and we really don't nominate and confirm judges to make decisions for us that we find too hard to make ourselves. And so I think, but yet there are also judges who, let's say after 230 years of a written Constitution, find new rights that are nowhere written in the words and nowhere contemplated by the founders and the people that wrote that document. So the whole idea of self-government is called into question there, whether you're going to be ruled by the elites who are unelected or whether we the people are going to make up the rules that govern us and our society.
Yep, that is the question. Senator, thank you so much for giving us a moment of your morning.